Hello and welcome to episode 35 of the 214 Sports Show, your home for everything DFW Sports. So glad you could join us once again. My name is Joseph Duffy, and I'm joined alongside my co-host, as always, and TJ Krylowitz and Courtney Machani. TJ, I'll start with you. How are you doing on this fine evening?
I'm doing good. I was trying to listen in. Apparently, there's like some guy having some kind of breakdown outside of my apartment right now. I can hear yelling and I can hear a lot of curse words. I don't know who it is, but I'm hoping they're all right.
Kind of feel like
Anyways,
him after this recent Rangers loss and recent Rangers down spiral this past weekend.
Maybe he was watching the Rangers. You're right.
He was probably watching the Rangers, yeah. Courtney, how about you? How's it going in this past weekend and going on this evening?
If you want to talk about this past weekend, I don't even want to get into that right now at this moment in the podcast. But, this week, man, it's been chill. Finals wrapping up as we college student knows. So just try to keep yourself sane. I'm going to end up like that guy by Friday, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it's getting a little hectic as a DFW sports fan, but also, this late stages of the semester, people are getting ready to graduate and the rest of us getting ready to finish the rest of our normal semesters and heading on to another year of college, but hopefully some more internships and some more opportunities that come knocking. But as said before, briefly kind of said before, we are on the road in Houston to watch the Texas Rangers battle against the Houston Astros down at Minute Maid Park, the juice box, they like to call it down there sometimes. Did not go the Rangers' way as they would lose 9-2, but we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But to start off the show,
Globe Life South. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah. Yeah, but something interesting to start off the episode. Yeah, it was pretty rough performance. 7th inning disaster class, 7 runs scored in that 7th inning. But something interesting, the WNBA draft was last night. A quick turnaround that they seem to have in the WNBA after the national champion was just crowned in South Carolina, an undefeated season. Caitlin Clark drafted first overall. Not really surprising. Angel Reese was also drafted. Cameron Brink, of course, the Stanford standout, was drafted as well. But the Dallas Wings was select J.C. Sheldon, 5th overall from Ohio State, Carla Late from France with the 9th overall pick, and then Ashley Owusu of Penn State with the 33rd. So 3 picks for the Dallas Wings last night. And, the Dallas Wings, they've been a little iffy in the past, but Arike Ogunbowale, make sure to say her name. Make sure to say her name a little slowly right there. But Arike Ogunbowale looking to bounce back with this wing squad. Now, a lot of teams in the WNBA, but they're looking to expand it a little bit more. So, what do y'all think about the WNBA draft? And it seems like there's a little bit more, motion and more eyes that are going to be on the season that's coming up.
Yeah, Caitlin Clark's insane talent. I don't know much about who the Dallas Wings drafted at 5th, but I know Ohio State had a good season in women's basketball this year. Seems like in the WNBA draft, they go with the best available, unlike the NBA draft where it's just pick the freshmen or, sometimes the top players aren't really part of some of the best teams, like I guess Anthony Edwards a couple years ago. But the WNBA, man, top players and the top seeds, they get picked first. It was it's good to see some of the big names of women's college basketball get picked, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like, I'm glad the WNBA, I really started paying attention to the WNBA. I'm not saying like I'm a big watcher, but I started paying attention a couple of years ago when Sabrina Ionescu got drafted, just kind of like her game in college. And the issue with the WNBA a lot of times is I just feel like there's not enough teams. Just 12 teams isn't enough. As you can see, the college game this year brought the game a lot of motion that was much needed for the game for sure. But there's still not enough teams. When you have an influx of all these NCAA teams that have all these talented players and only 12 teams have 15 spots on the roster, you're seeing picks get from their teams like 2-3 years later, like just releasing they go play in like Europe or something. So I'm happy for all these people I got drafted today. I hope that the college hype from like Andrew Reese and Caitlin Clark carries over to the WNBA. In my opinion, I don't think it will. I feel like WNBA's advertising isn't going to do enough. But especially as she's in Indiana too. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But I hope it does. And so yeah, I'm excited to see how she plays this season.
Yeah, from Iowa City to Indiana. I wish she was in a massive market. That'd be awesome. But as you were saying, just not a lot of eyes on the WNBA, and hopefully they bring more to it. That rivalry, Clark versus Reese, that you could see was a little bit amplified because of a little bit of social media work, not necessarily because they hated each other, but it's been amplified on social media. It's just crazy to think that they've had these great players that are coming along, and it seemed like at one time that was Kelsey Plum when she was at Washington, and eventually dropping all the triple doubles and became the leading scorer in NCAA women's history. And then it was Sabrina Ionescu, as you were saying, Courtney, and she was like the star from Oregon, and then she goes to New York, and now you have Clark and Reese. And hopefully all of that, culminating together can make the WNBA even more special than it is. But I do agree that hopefully that expansion can help the league grow even more. So before we get into the Dallas Mavericks, who are a playoff bound, we're going to start with a little bit of Pirtles. So, TJ, let's get that a little bit runned up. Your favorite game. We had a really good week last week.
It was 3 tries, right?
I got 3 tries.
Hopefully we don't have the 15th man in the rotation this time around. What should we start with? I don't know. We start with Terrence Mann. How about Terrence Mann? Since we're talking about Clippers.
Some Clippers with somebody in the West. A little bit over 27. Tim Hardaway Jr. No.
Let's go. A big.
It's got to be someone with a big number, and is a big.
Jokic.
Jokic
is too popular though. There's no way it's going.
Yeah, but it could still be him. What is Jokic's number again? I feel like such casual for not knowing.
Oh, it's 15. Isn't it
15? Yeah.
I never know numbers.
I'll go with
another big guy. DeAndre
Jordan. Let's go with no, Boban's going to be too old for that too. I'll go with Steven Adams is probably going to. Let's go Steven Adams. Try that. He's on the Rockets now. Okay, so somebody in the Northwest Division, somebody that's not too tall. This is interesting. NA number for Steven Adams. That didn't help.
Northwest.
Oh, man, this is tough.
How old is Rudy?
We could go Rudy Gobert. That actually makes sense, but he would be taller.
There's no way.
Yeah, he'd be taller.
There's no way.
It's a power. It's a power forward.
It's a power forward.
He's not in between those ages anyway.
Man, it's going to be another tough week. I swear, if it's a Jazz player again, man, they love giving us Northwestern players. I swear, there's been 5 of the last 6 times it's been somebody from Northwest. Let's go with
Can't be OKC.
Shit.
Nah, I mean, yeah, because they're too young over there.
They're too young.
Way too young. Oh, pause.
Let's just get somebody on the Timberwolves.
That will be getting clipped. No.
Jaden McDaniels, is he still on the
He's too.
Timberwolves?
Ain't no way he's in between 27 and 30. Though. I feel like he's too young.
I don't know.
He's trying to get somebody in the Central Division so we can get a team. I mean, John Collins would be a good answer, honestly.
Great answer.
So
he's 26. What? I thought he was 28 by now.
So in his 7th year, he was probably a freshman coming out.
Wow.
So the Jazz,
he's a forward. He is a
Aaron
forward.
Gordon, maybe? He's probably too old for this.
No, I think that's perfect, actually. He might be 29.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon.
Ooh,
there we go.
28.
Perfect.
Nice.
Ooh, but nasty. We got him. It was somebody relevant. Somebody really relevant, actually. Okay. All right. 4 this time. We're kind of on a roll now.
If we put Jokic, will we have gotten it quicker, or you think we still would have gotten it before?
think if we put Jokic, we would have thought it's got to be some team.
Jokic.
It's gonna be some team other than Denver that we would have thought. So
True.
I feel like that would have cost us if we tried that.
No, because it would have said Denver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, going into the Dallas Mavericks of the NBA, starting off our topics from the show. NBA playoffs beginning technically tonight if you want to count the play-in tournament. But the Mavs and Clippers will tip off on Sunday, starting off Game 1, which will be the third playoff series of the last 5 seasons between these two franchises. So I have to ask, going into the third time, obviously these teams are a little bit different from last, particularly the Mavs front court, but also the addition of James Harden to the Clippers along with Russell Westbrook. We didn't have that last time. And, of course, the Dallas Mavericks, you have Kyrie Irving joining the fray and Dante Exum, who's a clutch shooter for the squad. So how can the Mavericks this time around, how can they finally get that magic third time's a charm, I guess you will, against the Clippers in this playoff try? TJ?
It comes down to one word, and that's Kyrie. Didn't have him the first 2 times we played him. We will have him for this time. And again, we talked about it a little bit last week with the center rotation, and I think the center rotation is now an advantage for Dallas this time around. We would always get hit by Zubac on the defense or on the rebounding side for these first 2 playoff series. Now Gafford in there can mediate a little bit of that inside presence that LA could dominate with us last couple of years, especially Montrezl Harrell was a player on that team that dominated in that first year of that playoff series. Yeah, no.
Montrezl Harrell, man.
And now I believe their center rotation now is, Mason Plumlee and it would be Zubac. And, I think that's a very good advantage for the Mavericks. And, of course, as always, we got to see the Luka show against the Clippers. This is what he always does. By far, he had his best season of his career. We can talk a little bit about the MVP later, but he's dominating. 34 points a game, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. He had the highest points per game average in NBA history, excluding free throws on a season. He just surpassed Michael Jordan for that stat. Look at this. You got to scoring. Now our defense is going to be a little bit better. I'm excited to see how P.J. Washington defends in this series and who they really match him up against primarily. And, that's, I think the Mavs Clippers, very, very even matchup for sure.
As even as it gets. It makes sense why it's a 4-5 matchup. But, man, there's a lot on the line here, and I'll get to it in my point in just a second. But, Courtney, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one of the more even matchups. There's a couple ones, just because the East is so mid this year, there's a lot of even matchups on that side too. But on the West, I feel like it's a lot more matchups on this side. And with this one, I think it really comes off about how the Mavs can win. Obviously health is the most important part. Hopefully, this year we're not going into no playoff series with Luka injured. We have to have Jalen Brunson carry us to victories or whatever. So, now at least, we have Luka. Obviously, Kyrie and Luka both got hurt last year. Obviously, it's a different time how we got to the playoffs this year. We have both of them. We're going to the playoffs relatively healthy. Obviously, we can all say we fully believe that the Mavericks are the hottest team in the NBA. To win on the stretch that they went on, of course, those games against OKC, we won't talk about them. I think it's a footnote. But other than that, it's a pretty relatively hot team. And the Clippers, I feel like, are going kind of like even though I feel like they got better as the season progressed, they have been going a little downside. Obviously, we don't really know what's going to happen with Kawhi. We don't really know with these players, these superstar players that do have, as in Harden, PG, and Russ. We don't really know how they're going to perform as well. I think it's superstar. Superstar my name. Superstar my
Respect.
Name. So, yeah. And then they're signing Kai Jones. No disrespect to Kai Jones. Shout out to Kai Jones. It just shows the type of desperateness they need. They need bodies in this playoff series. So I think that it's really going to come down to who has the most bodies. I feel like it's going to be a little bit more of a physical matchup than we thought. I mean, honestly, these teams have played so much together, so I feel like it's going to be a lot more physical. They know people a lot. I mean, they know each other a lot. And I mean, Luka pretty much always does great against the Clippers. I think he's going to have a momentum into his MVP race to show maybe why he should be more respected more as an MVP candidate, because we all thought he should win, but it is what it is. So I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think it really depends on the health and the bodies, how much bodies they all got.
Wait, by the way, I'm not broken up right. Do you see me like right now? Any connection issues?
Yeah, it did the trying to connect.
It said the same for me.
Okay, so I will say there's been a little news that came out yesterday with Chris Broussard reporting that there's a little bit of Kawhi Leonard knee inflammation. He talked to somebody somehow in the know, and he said there's been a little bit of knee inflammation, and he hate to see this again for Kawhi close to NBA playoffs, because we've seen this time and time again with him. You saw just before, actually just after, I think, they defeated us that second time where he got hurt in that second round after they beat us in Game 7. But Kawhi Leonard is definitely someone to watch with that knee inflammation, because, I mean, this is not the same Clippers team, I think, that we've had to play the past 2 times. I don't think this team is as good as before. But I do want to ask that, knowing that, this is the best Mavs team that I would say has the chance to win a title since that 2011 squad, and then seeing this Clippers squad now with all these veteran leaders, Russ and Harden joining, who has the most pressure? I'm going to ask the first take kind of question here, but who has the most pressure riding on them? And on that team, which player has the most pressure on them? TJ?
This man's giving me some essay questions, dog. Some essay questions to answer here. I mean, who has the most pressure? Out of anybody on the Clippers, Mavs?
Anybody. I mean, who has more pressure as a team, and on that team, who has the most pressure?
Well, of course, it's the Mavericks who have the more pressure. I mean, it's right now they're riding as the favorites. Vegas has them as the favorites right now. They're the 5th seed. They're they don't even have the home field advantage, which, to be honest, for the Mavericks, they didn't really matter if they were home or away this year. They played basically the exact same. Both the stats are not, super, not completely different playing home and away for this team. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But the Mavs definitely have the pressure. Lost 2 times in a row, just a couple of years ago to this team. But for players, man, I mean, look at the team right now for the Clippers, man. It's Westbrook and Harden, and Westbrook and Harden, they're the 2 people in the league right now. The 2 aging, I'll say with you, Courtney, stars that haven't gotten a ring. They're the 2 most aging stars that people right now actively are like, hey, these guys deserve a ring. They're going to have the biggest pressure. All right, James Harden, again, gets, Luka gets compared to James Harden a lot, but I'll tell you the main difference between them is the playoff performance. Luka has consistently been a better player. He's elevated his game in the playoffs. James Harden has consistently de-elevated his game in the playoffs. So, if James Harden can kind of keep up with, of course he's not going to keep up with Luka, but can he sustain his season averages and help this team instead of bring them down with turnovers and missed shots like he usually does? That's going to be the question. People don't like James Harden in the playoffs. He definitely has the most pressure.
Yeah, I feel like it's not even a question. I mean, I think that I don't want to sound like JJ Redick here, but I think it has to be the Clippers. I mean, ever since July, I think it was like 4th or the 5th when Kawhi signed in 2019, and then right after that they did the PG trade. I mean, we all thought that team was going to win the championship. We thought it was going to be either LA Lakers or LA Clippers to win the championship. LA Lakers got their championship, and now we're all wondering where the Clippers championship is. I mean, they've went through a coach. They obviously have Tyronn Lue now. Because the Doc Rivers experiment didn't work. They've tried everything. They've tried different rotations. They've tried different players. But I mean, it all really comes down to 2 people, Kawhi and PG. Obviously, they got Harden now in the mix. That's the only issue. We saw how everything blew up in Brooklyn. Obviously, how everything blew up in Philly. He gets traded over there to Clippers, and how he in Philly. I mean, we all saw that stinky playoff performance he had against Boston last year. I mean, it's just absolutely sticky. Like, I could go on that platform for years and years. It's just absolutely terrible. We could talk about his woes in the playoffs. We could also talk about Russ's woes in the playoffs as well. And I feel like Russ isn't as bad as Harden. But, I mean, when you compile all these players together, I mean, it's like all these players, I mean, Kawhi really is the only one that is an experienced champion. I mean, when it comes to that, I feel like all those players really have one thing missing from the resume, and that's the championship. I mean, there's 2 MVPs on that roster, obviously Harden and Russ. And PG, I mean, is one more respected player in the 2010s. So I feel like they definitely have more pressure because I feel like now they're aging and they know it's now or never. I mean, obviously Luka is just getting into he's in his form. Kyrie obviously is a little older, but Kyrie already has him. Kyrie already knows where he stands in NBA history. He should have been NBA 75. They screwed him over, and we all know that. They know where they stand. So it's like, and there's 3 players on that team that were NBA 75. So it's like, how they need to win this game, this series. They won't, but they need to.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I gotta go with the Dallas Mavericks. You know, something about the Mavs finally getting gassed up, it makes me a little bit uneasy because you don't see that a lot come playoff time. There's not much hype around the Dallas Mavericks most of the time when they're heading into the playoffs. So seeing like ever since Kyrie hit that left-handed shot over Jokic, I mean, we're seeing more coverage. We're seeing more predictions having us in the Western Conference Finals. We're seeing more hype, of course, because we're ahead of the Suns, who were supposed to do much better. Of course, they battled a few more injuries than. Well, we've actually had I would say maybe more injuries than them.
I don't know about that.
I'm not going to say they have more injuries than us.
More major injuries, I'd say.
More major.
Yeah,
We was here for a while.
Yeah. We had some
for sure.
But they definitely had some major injuries.
But the thing with, I mean, this Dallas Mavericks squad is kind of put up or shut up time, especially for Jason Kidd. Obviously, I can't say he's on the hot seat anymore. He did what I asked, right? He did what I asked. Won 80% of the games. We'll see what the playoff.
He did more than 80%. He did.
I mean, there's a lot of writing here, but I do want to talk about, of course, that viral video that was, I believe, now in October or November. Brian Damaris, Mavericks analyst on Bally Sports Southwest. Yeah. Man, he went in on James Harden before that Clippers game, saying that you're not the beard.
You didn't say anything wrong.
At the time, I can say that.
You go ahead. Say it.
This could come back. I don't want to come back and bite the Mavericks, but there's a lot of writing here. This man's career is on the line. I mean, oh my God. You're saying you are the problem, James Harden. You are not the system. You are the problem. Man,
you're not the beard. You're the problem. That's what he said,
boy.
Something like that. Oh.
I know that dug deep. But that was getting posted everywhere. Made House of Highlights, and Bally Sports had to take that clip down because it was just they took it down from all their socials because I mean it was kind of looking like an unprofessional thing to put on your platform. So they were like, let me take it down because it's making too many waves for a local sports news thing. So I was thinking that maybe there's a lot more pressure on this Mavs squad. Luka, we know he's going to show up. Kyrie, we know he's a good closer. It's going to be a battle of the role players here. Because we're going to need some good three-point shooting from Hardaway, who has been prone to, be a little streaky at times. But he stepped up, of course, in that playoff run about 2 years ago. But, this team is going to have their role players step up, especially their bench. Because you're not going to make it far if it's just Kyrie and Luka who show up. So I really think that this Mavs pressure has a lot of pressure riding on them in this playoff series. I think they can get it done. And I think that they'll get it done because everybody shows up and does their job. And the defense can at least be sustainable for a series.
Yeah, but I think it does. I think it does come down to Kyrie and Luka in the end, at least for the Mavericks. I think it does. And I think it actually does for the Clippers too. I mean, will Kawhi be able to sustain his health? Will he be able to play at his top level? Which I think if he plays, he will be playing 100%. And if it's Paul George, all of these star players, all the main players for the Clippers Mavericks, these are the players that need to prove themselves the most, actually, in my opinion. Kyrie Irving hasn't been anywhere close to the finals since 2016, 2017 with the Cavs. And then also, I mean, Luka, now he's about to be in his fifth year in the playoffs now, and only having two playoff series wins. I mean, you're looking – well, actually, no, I'm sorry, not his fifth. This is fourth. But still, I mean, in the end, looking like a lot of early playoff exits for Luka early in his career, which is normal. It's not something too crazy to talk about. But I mean, again, it's all this pressure on these huge superstars in the series that it's going to come down to these players for sure, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But do y'all remember when the Clippers? Because I want to talk about when Courtney said, what was the Clippers title? Do y'all remember the amount of excuses that they poured out after losing that 3-1 series to Denver and the double?
For sure.
Oh my gosh!
Lined up. They all did. I think it was Pat Bev. It wasn't Lou Williams. I think it was Pat Bev.
Yeah, I think they were on the podcast talking about it.
It was Pat. It was Pat Bev.
Man. Come on.
Yeah, and then you had Doc Rivers in the post game conference talking. He was like, yeah, we had these players couldn't play for more than 5 minutes on the court. They were so tired. And then you had the Paul George come on with a shooting arm iced up. He had a shooting arm iced up. Do y'all remember his backboard clank in the fourth quarter, Game 7? Yeah, he had a shooting arm iced up, and he goes, man, it just wasn't a title year for us. It wasn't really a title year. We didn't come in here expecting to win the title. Like, hell no. You totally expected to win the finals. You're one of the best teams. Stop talking about a gelling year or whatever. That was a title year. You know it. You screwed it up.
I just want to say, talking about Doc Rivers is just random, but to inherit a team that had 30 wins and I don't even think he reached 50 wins this year with the Bucks.
I saw that tweet. That was nasty.
Absolutely disgusting.
13, 50 wins. Didn't even finish
under 500. Yeah.
And he's going to have yet another playoff collapse with the Bucks this year. I cannot wait to see. Even though I love Damian Lillard, I'm Doc Rivers slander.
Ooh,
but,
the timeline.
The timeline. When Doc Rivers playoff collapse, we will be there.
And the added context, which is crazy about this whole Kawhi and PG partnership, they built a whole new stadium off of the thought of them winning the championship. They're about to move into a new stadium next year, and they don't have anything to hang up in it at all.
They got the Clippers wall or whatever, the whole section that's supposed to be exclusively Clippers fans. I didn't know home teams could do that.
They're trying to separate from being, the little brother of the Lakers, and they're trying to, really.
They're trying to make an identity.
You can't, man. I mean, you just don't have any history like that. They just went to the first Western Conference Finals 2 years ago in franchise history. 2 years ago. And they've been around since the 60s.
Yeah, almost 40 years in LA. They still don't have any culture in that city. I would probably say that the Warriors probably have more fans in LA than the Clippers do.
Easily.
It's wild. So I'll wrap it up by saying, people are kind of relating this series a little bit to Jordan against the Pistons. How Jordan got bounced against Detroit those first few years. I believe it was 3 times compared to, Luka getting bounced by LA 2 times. So we'll see how this goes. It could be the third time's a charm for Luka and the Dallas Mavericks against the LA Clippers. But now we're going to move on to the World Series champion Texas Rangers. Very disappointing past week for these Texas Rangers. Very stinky division that they play in so far. First series loss against the Oakland A's last week. Man, I tell you what, very disappointing. Jose Leclerc, not the kind of series you wanted to have. Blew the save in a game, I guess, where you could say Shea Langoliers beat the Rangers all by himself. 3 home runs, including the game-winning home run in the 9th inning where Leclerc will blow that 2-1 save. But then, of course, losing the next day as well, 4-3. And then, you go to the Houston series where they had a dominant win on that Friday night. And then you go to Saturday afternoon. What went wrong on that game in your view? The game that we all went to travel to watch on a Saturday afternoon game at 3 o'clock at Minute Maid Park, TJ. What did you see that was just
beautiful?
Come on, Joseph. Yeah, the weather was absolutely beautiful. And I will say the positives from that game, man. Lots of Rangers fans at that game, man. A lot of Rangers fans. They traveled well. I mean, I know it's interstate. I've been to Rangers-Astros games in Texas and Houston. It usually has a lot of fans, obviously. But that was when the Rangers were shit and the Astros were really good. And, obviously now the Rangers have kind of that status that the Astros have a little bit. And, it's kind of paying forward. You're seeing a lot of fans show up at these games now, especially the away games. But anyways, my final conclusion from Saturday. the Astros are cheating again. All right. The Astros are cheating again. All right. I was looking at center field, man. I was looking for those cameras. I was making sure. All right. I was saying, okay, look. The Astros did not swing and miss that game. All right. They did not swing and miss. They had solid contact on almost every contact they had. I'm not actually trying to make a point that they were cheating. Obviously, I'm just saying that they had a really, really good game and almost a perfect game. Almost a perfect game in the batter's box against the Rangers. Because, again, they had almost about 15 hits, which is always really good. But not only that, they had about 13 runners left on base that game, too.
Oh, it could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse. They could have scored like 15 runs if they wanted to. And so, you got to take the wins when you can. The Rangers are struggling to start this year, but they are surviving. All right. They're above water. They're 500 right now. You mentioned again, this division sucks. All right. This division is really bad right now. And so, the Rangers, we knew about this. We knew about the start of the season was going to be the tough part of the season. The World Series hangover plus all the injuries, a bunch of injuries. Now you have to add Josh Young to that list now too. And also Josh Sborz and players like that. And so, I mean, they're above the water right now. They're lucky that their division is so shit. And so it helps that, now they're 500 and they still have a really good chance of being first in the AL West division right now. And so, it's tough to lose that game. It's tough to drop that series and, of course, drop the series to Oakland at home. You never want to do that. That just sucks. But, again, Corey Seager's still recovering from injury, too. The offense still isn't completely there yet. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a really rough division. I spent years making fun of the AL Central, and now, I mean, even they look better than us right now in this division. And if the Angels win tonight, they are going to be first in the AL West. Can you believe that? The former Rangers manager and Ron Washington could be leading the AL West by tonight. So, Courtney, what did you see on that game this past Saturday?
Well, I mean, firstly, I think the Pieces should have a beautiful stadium. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah, it was really nice.
May Park is a nice stadium. Not as good as Globe Life Stadium. I felt very, very good about going to a baseball game after all these years. It felt very, very nice to go to a baseball game. I had fun. It was a good time. All that aside, the game is absolutely terrible. I mean, for me to see the horror that we talk about on this podcast in live action, like I've never seen it before in live action. For at least, not to a lot of years. Like this actual roster in live action, it was absolutely terrible. I mean, it was kind of like an impending doom. Like we were all looking at each other like we knew that this team was going to give up a crazy run eventually. Like it was 2-2 for the longest. We knew eventually this Astros team was going to explode because they're just waiting. Like every time they went to a rotation, it was just hits. Honestly, a lot of pop-ups, honestly, a lot of fouls, but it's just hits. We knew that eventually one of those because they have a good lineup. One of those players, I told Joe, I said, man, they got they had Altuve, Tucker, and
Jordan. Oh yeah,
Jordan. Back to back. I said,
man.
No, we might be finished. Bro, they had a good lineup. So I knew it was just waiting to happen. Obviously, I mean, they left. What's his name? Jose. Abreu, yeah, they left him out to dry. It was pretty. I mean, obviously he didn't help himself.
Oh, Jose Urena.
You're talking about Urena?
Oh, you think Urena. Like Abreu's on that team too. But he left. They left Jose Urena out there to dry. Obviously that bullpen is stinky anyway. But I mean, he stood no chance out there. It was nasty. That seven runs. I didn't know how stinky Andrew Heaney was either. I mean, he just letting people walk time after time. It was just so bad. I know the bullpen, I don't know how to compare it to last year. I don't know if y'all think it's better or worse this time around at the start of the season. It's probably
it's worse. It's about the same. It's 5.17 ERA right now, one of the worst in the league. So
it's bad, and it doesn't help that it don't help that the Astros still suck. They still suck.
Your sound effects, man. Come on.
So obviously. It didn't help that they lost to Tiger State, too. I saw Joe was a fan of that class.
Hey, Jose Abreu name drop on it. All right, he's the new Carlos Beltran. All right, we all know Beltran. He started the whole cheating scandal 2017. All right, he was a struggling hitter, old struggling hitter, looking to try to benefit off some sign stealing. I think that's Abreu now. All
the
right,
opportunity.
Beltran.
It looks like nobody wants to win this division as it stands right now. It's crazy. They all really don't really care that much, but it's crazy to see this Rangers team that. For one, I was not thinking offense would be the problem so far this year. So, I mean, if you look this week, I mean, the pitching so far has been okay. The 1-0 shutout, we're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, by the way. So the first 2 games of the Tigers series have already been concluded. The shutout 1-0 yesterday. The 4-2, I believe. Was it 4-1 loss today? No, 4-2.
4-2.
4-2 loss today against Detroit. Of course, another John Gray, nice pitching outing, wasted once again. Urania would take the loss sadly today, but defense would be a problem today. But this offense, I'm just not sure what's going on. Usually that's the part we don't have to worry about. But right now they look like they're going through a little bit of a slump. But good news coming out of Frisco that Nathaniel Lowe is almost pretty much back. So it's looking like his rehab has gone well, and he should be in the lineup some part in this later part of this week. Jack Leiter will be debuting this Thursday on the day of the release of this episode. So he'll be debuting today, I guess I could say. And so we'll see how the rest of this 2-game series goes against Detroit. Very solid team. They usually do well in the beginning of the season. The bullpen is number 1 in the game, and we've seen really why these past 2 games, but this Rangers team needs to just hold on until about June and July when we'll see DeGrom come back eventually and Scherzer come back, and then Young will come back eventually as well. So we'll hold on to this team. It doesn't look like the division is in anybody's hands as it stands right now, even though we're currently first as it looks. So we're going to head to the Dallas Stars, who just clinched the Central Division this past Saturday, and they're looking to win their last game against the St. Louis Blues. TJ, what do you have with us?
The Dallas Stars. I mean, it's they're right now looking at clinching best seed in the West, which is kind of the easier division. All right, let's but we're not going to talk about it. Obviously, the Western Division is going to be a little bit tougher than that Metropolitan Division and Atlantic Division with the historical teams. But I mean, look. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful season, man. Beautiful season, absolutely. You have a lot of, you had a lot of questions going into the season. I think, after that kind of really disappointing loss after Vegas last year, they came in this season. And they maintained the hotness over the entire stretch of the year. They had multiple winning streaks of the season that reached over 5 games, and they didn't drop any more than 3 losses in the part of the season. So, huge improvement this season from them, and of course the depth that they've had this year is insane. Only team in the NHL with over 8 players over 20 goals. I believe they're almost at 9 now. But look, they're more than likely going to play Vegas again in the first round. So we're starting to see this kind of repetition with the Mavs and Stars both playing kind of familiar rival. The Clippers, Mavs 3 times in the last 5 years, and now the Stars in the last 5 years will be playing the Knights 3 times. And so, I hate it. I hate that this is our reward for being the top seed in the West. Kind of like how the Mavs got rewarded with, becoming the top team out of that, non-top 4 teams. They became the top team, and now they have to play the Clippers. Now you have the Stars who competed with some of these really good teams like the Avalanche and the Canucks and the Oilers, and they battled out and had a better score than them, and now they're going to have to play Vegas. It just sucks, And meanwhile, Vancouver's going to have to play like the Kings or someone, which is obviously a much better matchup for the Stars. The Vegas is always a sneaky team. They've been pretty injured this year. I'm looking at this playoff series with Vegas, and I can see it going any other way. I think this team has a lot of motivation to beat this team after what they did to us last year in the playoffs, having 2 games at home on our home ice in front of 20,000 Dallas Stars fans, losing 6-0 in those 2 games. 6-0. Well, maybe game 3 was less than 6 goals, but game 6 when we got eliminated was 6-0. I mean, absolutely horrible. And so I really don't know what to say about the Golden Knights. I don't really know what to say about this playoff series. I'm a little scared about it, obviously. I hate playing Vegas. I think they will have a good series against us. It's not going to be easy for the Stars. But again, playoff hockey, you're going to have to expect to play some pretty freaking good teams, and you're going to have to expect to have your A game every single game, no matter what. Because if you're deserving enough to make the NHL playoffs, you're just you can win any series. To be honest, it's that easy. It's there's that much parity in the NHL. So, but getting first in the Central Division since 2016, first time since forever that they've won the West. I don't know when's the last time they won the West, but it's been a while. So you gotta be happy about the season, but job's not finished.
Plenty of teams, along with the Stars, trying to get their first title in a while. The Stars trying to get their first Stanley Cup since '99. But look at the New York Rangers, who finished as the number 1 team overall in the NHL, trying to get their first title, I believe, since the '90s. I could be wrong with that. The Boston Bruins, after having an underwhelming ending to their season last year, their historic season where they broke the win record for an 82-game season, trying to get back in the Stanley Cup hunt. Florida Panthers finished second in the Stanley Cup race as well, trying to get back into the thick of things. The Maple Leafs, going to be the Maple Leafs. Do we have hope for that at all, possibly, TJ, for them running in the Eastern Conference Finals at all? But
no.
Do you? No.
The Leafs are the Cowboys, and they're the Cowboys of hockey league. So it's kind of hard to be confident about this team. Obviously, they don't have a. What's up?
Excuse me if I'm mistaken, but didn't the Bruins I know they broke the record. Didn't they choke really hard in the playoffs?
They lost round 1.
They lost.
They lost round 1.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They got bounced
to
by the
Florida
Panthers.
Crazy. That's
what y'all know about the Florida Panthers, bro. I've never seen a choke like that. I mean, that might be the worst. That's worse than the Warriors choke. And if people if people did care more about NHL, this would have had even more news, bro. Because it's wild to me how they choke like that.
It's a terrible choke. That might
be
the worst.
Horrific. Yeah,
it's really bad. It's really bad. But yeah, I don't hope much. At the start of on TSTV Sports, I said that it was going to be Colorado and Toronto in the Stanley Cup Finals. But I'm not too high on Toronto anymore. Colorado, again, if the Stars have to play Colorado in that second round, it's going to be tough. And I think, I don't want to look ahead to that second round because obviously you got to beat Vegas first. But that second round is going to consist of either Winnipeg or Colorado. And I kind of talk about Winnipeg. They're the hotter team right now. They're playing really good. They just outscored the Stars and the Avalanche 10-0 in their last 2 games. But I mean, they don't have a star goal scorer. They don't have consistent goal score. I mean, they do have consistent goal scorers. I'm sorry. It's just they have a really good goalie. And, in this day of age, having a really good goalie as your number 1 strength is not a big quality that you need anymore. And so I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough postseason, really tough postseason. But I will say, playoff hockey, man, I will be there. All right,
I'll be there no matter what. I mean, I will be there.
If you
go ahead.
Yeah, no. If you decide to watch playoff hockey for the first time and decide to root for the Stars and really commit to it this year, all right, for the first time, this will take years off your life. Playoff hockey is the most stressful playoff I've ever experienced, by far. I never get as much stress as I do watching playoff hockey. But I will say it's still my favorite playoff. All right? It's still my favorite playoff.
Pressure mounts
Stanley Cup playoffs is so tense, but it's the best.
You can go to Game 7 against the Blues. They went to OT a few years ago, that heartbreaking loss. You can go to the Stanley Cup Finals just a few years ago. You can go to even last year with the wild loss in the OT Game 1. It keeps going with the Stars and the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's always a very nauseating experience. So Stars will wrap up their season just in a little bit. By the time this episode airs, it will already have happened against the St. Louis Blues. But obviously a great ending to the season. You love to see it from Pete DeBoer's squad. So that'll wrap it up for episode 35 here on the 214 Sports Show. We do invite you to like and subscribe for all our platforms. We do post it on Thursdays at 9 a.m. on Spotify and YouTube at 214 Sports Show for both. We also do post reels and little short clips of our takes on Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter. And then also you can find it on TikTok as well. So at 214 Sports Show for all of those platforms. We do invite you to please like and subscribe to all of those social media platforms. But TJ, could you please drop your socials really quick? I believe you had a story that you posted. So the people
man. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's a really shitty story. Please, I'm gonna delete it after this gets graded because it's really bad and I don't want to see my future interns looking at that. But yeah, anyways, at TJ not TJ_Krulowitz for the Twitter /X, and then for Instagram, I'm at TJ.Krulowitz.
I know you've been saying so. All right, Courtney, go ahead and would you please drop your socials really quick? I was going to ask, but you just...
I don't even need the introduction no more, man. It's cool. I see what you're saying. My Instagram is going to be clivesdalife. And then my Twitter is going to be C_Machani. If you follow me on those socials, you will see that 214 Sports Show that Houston. I keep everyone updated on my daily life, so those are my two socials. Especially Twitter, I keep everyone updated on Twitter.
The Courtney Maniacs, the Machaniacs, if you will.
Yes, sir.
You can follow me on Instagram and what does it say? Oh, on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not sure what that's saying on Riverside. Something about a recording of TJ's track. Yeah, on Instagram and Twitter. Yeah, you can follow me there at Joseph_Duffy99. Just got a new profile pic. Edley Termillion she blessed me with that new pic. Courtney says he thought it was a body count at first. He thought it was a body count. So until he clicked on that profile, he finally recognized that it was indeed me.
It looked AI. I was shocked, bro.
No, she was cooking the whole day. She was cooking the whole day with it.
Click here to see my links.
Click here to see my links, bro.
Dude's in profile, bro. That's what I thought it was, bro.
Yeah, so you can follow me there. Yeah, shout out to Edley Termillion at Joseph_Duffy99 on Instagram and Twitter. Please do like and subscribe to all of our platforms. Share it all around. We do want to grow a little bit of these on these platforms for this podcast. So that will do it for the 214 Sports Show, episode 35. Thank you for joining us. Please have a blessed and graceful evening. Thank you.